Oh yeah. It's my latest Aragon. It's the Divemaster 3. I've been looking for one of these for a while. I'm going to talk about this and then the state of my Aragon collection and what I'm doing with these. I collect a lot of watches. I've been putting a lot of watches on custom straps that I've been making myself. And this particular watch is just, once I discovered it, I really wanted it because I'm in love with the bubble crystals. It harkens back to the old classic dive watches. I like the distortion it gets. I wanted another version of this. To be honest, this particular watch didn't come in colors that I really liked. I did find one on eBay that was the yellow and black, so it had a yellow face dial, and the bezel was yellow and black, and I got a great deal on it, and it never arrived. Just got lost in the mail. I found a really good deal on this one. Shockingly good deal, because if you were to go look for this, you'll get around $200, a little more, and up to $400 or $500 is what people are asking. And I scored this, very inexpensively. That's my thing. I will hunt until I find something that hovers around 100 or less. Let me take this off and give you some tighter shots of it while we talk about it. Just wanted to point out also, as I've mentioned before in my videos, the wrist is 7 5/8 to 7 3/4, depending on the temperature outside. And this watch is a 45mm case. It looks larger on my wrist on the screen. When I look down on my wrist, the watch looks smaller than it appears to you on screen. I think that's just a thing about the camera lens. All right. I've mentioned this when I first was getting into the watches months ago, and I like a 4 o'clock crown if you're going to wear this on its bracelet, because a 3 o'clock crown kind of digs into your hand. You have to wear these a little bit snugger on your wrist to keep them locked so they don't fall down onto your wrist. It's got a display case back on here so you can see the movement. This particular watch is NH Seiko movement, NH35. You see it moving there. I like automatics. I like everything about this watch. The only thing I would tell you that is a mistake, something that's been omitted, which is a pretty big deal if you're saying this is a dive watch, is there is zero lume on the bezel. Now, you don't need the bezel to be all lumed like we're seeing on all these new watches, but you need a pip. You need a lumed pip at the top, or the triangle. So I'm kind of blown away by the fact that Wing left that out. Wing is the guy that designs and makes these watches. There's lume on the end here, on the crown. Amazing bezel action. I mean, you can hear that. It locks up nicely. It lines up. You can't say that about Seiko. I love what this guy does with these watches because they're overbuilt. You can see the size of this. This is a 200-meter water resistant. That's at minimum. Wing does take his watches and test them from time to time, and they typically go deeper than that. This has applied indices with a blued metal frame around them. The hour hand is a blued metal frame. The minute hand is orange, which is what you'd like to see in a dive watch, and there is lume on the seconds hand. That it's interesting because the second hand, you can see it's more like it's either a metallic paint on there that's orange. It doesn't actually match the same orange on the minute hand, which doesn't bother me. I think the date window was an interesting choice, the way that they did it. They made it larger than it needed to be with an arrow indicating what day it is. It's just neat. I love the reflection off the edge of the bubble as you turn it, and then the distortion. And my favorite thing that harkens to vintage watches is the metal ring around the crystal. I call this a framed bezel insert, when there's, clearly metal on both sides of it. You'd call this a Pepsi bezel insert. Very common, been around for quite some time. I can't tell you who did that originally, like which company. But I just wanted one of these, and I didn't want to pay full-blown retail for it. I'll tell you right now, go to Aragon.com, AragonWatches.com, you'll find it. Their sale prices on their watches are amazing. You can get many of their brand new watches for well under $200. I don't see how you go wrong with these things. They're just overbuilt. I'm not a fan of all of Wing's designs. You'll see when I show. I've got a whole bunch of watches. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other Aragons here. I'm going to show you briefly. I'm not going to do a review on all of them. I'm going to talk about them a little bit, why I got them, and what the intended purpose is going to be. With one major disappointment, I'm kind of pissed. This watch here, this is the one I spent the most money on last year. Well, it was, last year was months ago. But it has the most complications of any watch I own. It's got the month, the day of the week, a visible power reserve. It's a 500-meter water resistant. It's a high beat movement. I think it's 28,000 plus beat rate. Let's see if we can get it on here. What does it say here? This might be a Swiss movement. No, it's a Miyota 9100. And this is an Android. So originally, the company was called Android. There was a dispute with the name, and as you can imagine, and he sold the name, and he came back up with Aragon. And I love this watch. I just never take it out. The bummer about this watch is a couple bummers. The way it links up is not standard lugs. Like on this watch here, I could take this band off, put another band on it. With this watch, it's proprietary. I can't do that. So it's really bizarre. I'm stuck with this bracelet, which is fine. But this morning, as I took it out, the box it was in is broken. The lid fell out. I forgot that. I dropped the whole box, and then a knife fell off the shelf and landed and hit it right on the lens. There it is. The hand is. It's right above the hand there. It's right here. What a bummer, man. You don't see it too much, but my fingernail's catching it. You can see it here. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer for me, but anyhow, let's move on. We have a luminescence here. Let's keep in mind, too, this is a 50 millimeter. This is a 50 millimeter across the front here. This entire watch has lume on it. I've showed this to you before. It's pretty neat. Again, a guy made me an offer on eBay on this because I was watching it. It's not something I would typically buy. It's not my kind of thing. I don't like the coloring. It's a little effeminate to me. I'm not a fan of that. You'll see when you see the rest of these watches. I kind of like, man stuff, masculine stuff. But when I got it, I was shocked at how much I kind of like it. I don't wear it. Just sitting in a box. So I'm going to hold on to for a while because I think they're neat. Some of these have gone on sale really inexpensive. I got this extremely inexpensive. I told the guy when we were talking about it, I said, I don't see people really wanting to wear it. He kind of agreed. That's why he was selling it. So I got it, for a song, really. And it was brand new in the box still. Flat sapphire crystal across the top. Neat watch. I've sized these to fit me, obviously. You can see what a 50 millimeter looks like on my wrist. Let's go with this one here real quick, just so you see it. I can pull that off. This watch is a little bit longer on height. And this one does slide down my wrist, which is uncomfortable. And it had a very sharp edge. So when I first got it, I made a commitment to keep this watch. So I worked it a little bit. I kind of chamfered this a hair, and as well as here. I need to clean that up a little bit more. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just wanted to show you what's going on with the watch collection as far as the Aragons. Now, I'll show you this one last one as far as that's not going to change that I'm keeping. This is a 45 millimeter. It's pretty tall. It's pretty amazing. This is my only all black watch here. Very comfortable for a big watch. Again, 45 millimeters acceptable. It's pretty standard size for an oversized, even a regular dive watch. Although the Aragons are just so massive, even in height. You know, Wing's really funny about this because he's building these super tough, well-spec'd watches, but he's purposefully making them tanks. They don't need to be. They do not need to be this large, but it's kind of neat. It's a presence thing. I think it's a lot of people wear this sort of things. They want to be noticed. I don't. I don't need anybody to walk up to me just to talk to me about my watch. I'm usually pretty busy. But I like the blue face on this. Again, you know, the thing about these Aragons is you're going to see just the amount of detail in them, especially with what's going on the dials. With they always have applied indices. Nothing's cheap. You know, it's well done. This has a pip lollipop on the back side of the second hand. This here, the bezel is taller than the crystal. So it's a safer watch to wear, less likely to scratch that as you're wearing it around. And I got a great deal on it. I thought it was pretty. I watched it. The guy made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So both of these here are 45s. And now these are, you know, 4 watches here that are mine, that I don't intend on getting rid of. I think they're kind of neat. Although these 2 I'm not even really wearing. Now there's one other one that you guys have seen before that I put on one of my bands. What I'm calling the Gladiator watch cuff. This was a Aragon Divemaster I got cheap because you could see this clear scratch going across the bezel insert and the top of the crystal there. This has an optical illusion. This has the metal ring, the framed bezel insert, and it appears that it has a domed crystal when you look at it. But when you look at it from here, you can clearly see that is flat. Let me put this on for you. Just want to point out that on this watch here, I put a roller buckle. So on this one, as you put it on, I don't know if I can do this on camera here. It's going to be a little bit tough. Let me feed it through and then show you the tight shot of how it works. So with this here, you can pull on this strap. And, you know, I mean, you don't want to ever go super crazy. But you can pull that because it has a roller buckle. You see that? So the buckle's not going to lock up on the leather. And then where, in that case, if it does lock up and you're pulling on this, you can pull this apart, you can break a spring bar, but that's not going to happen with this one. This one here is nice and snug. Get another hole there. There we go. And I love the look of this. I think it's just tough, man. I was wearing this as a work watch. Since I put it together, I've been, you know, rotating it with others. Very comfortable. Tough looking. This was the first one I ever did. If I was doing it again in this style, I would wrap this cuff around my wrist more. But it's very comfortable. I'm digging on it. Super cool. Now, let me just show you these last 3, which are really cool. I picked each of these up really inexpensively. All 3 of these are intended to be put on my custom bands. Each one will be different. This is the only one I have that is in a quartz. Look at the dome crystal on this. That's a double dome crystal. That's why there's no distortion in it. The band has quite a few scratches on it. The reason why I want to put it on there, there's a slight, one little tiny mark on the, there it is, right there. You see the dot for Sunday, and there's a little scratch right there on the lens. You don't really notice it too much. Super tough watch. The date is marked when the circle is red next to the day. You can tell it's a quartz because the second hand is stopping along the way. It's a locking crown. 200 meter water resistant. Yeah, pretty typical for Aragon. Applied indices. Really just such a neat looking watch. You can see there is marring a little bit on the shiny bit of the polishing here. That's just how it is, man. It's a used watch. I also have to point out here, I didn't say this yet, I should have said in the beginning, Wing designs these watches, and then that's it. When these are sold out, they're gone. They're gone forever. So it's just one of those things. You get it when you like it, and otherwise you have to find it on the secondary market, and in that case, they're worn. I can't get this one on. Whoever had this was a really tiny wristed person. So this is going to go on a version of my, it's going to be bison hide like you see in the background here. I'm going to make a really cool cuff for this, and that will be for sale. That's just such a cool watch. This one here came on a band that was too small for me, bracelet, and but the watch, man, this one is in pretty much pristine condition. There's no major scratches I'm seeing on this thing. I'm gonna have to show you the lume on this. I don't think I will on all of them, but it's a tank. I believe this one is 500 meter water resistant. Yeah, 500 meter water resistant. 21,600 beat per minute movement, 21 joules. It is a Seagull TY2806 automatic movement. It's an Android, so it was before it went to Aragon. Just see what the bezel action sounds like on this one. Locks up nicely, it lines up. The neat thing about this one here, and we'll show you this in a moment, you know, I'll take this aside. I have to show you one more here. Yeah. The lume on this is crazy. You can kind of tell here that on the chamfer around the bezel, you're seeing a reflection of the indices, and the whole bezel insert looms. The lume on this, when at night, this is really kooky, super cool. This is going to look great on a leather cuff. This is just going to be super tough. These watches with a cuff are going to come in at $500. Just if you're interested, it's got lume on the crown. Super cool. And then this one, excuse me. This is just a, I can't believe how inexpensively I got this one. Now, this has a kooky band design, right? The way the bracelet works. This section here stays attached to the watch. It's a screw pin. And then the bracelet pops off here. So this part here, I don't know what you'd call this, stays on the watch. The band is removable. And that part there is going to stay attached to the watch case. So it's going to look really cool. Really, really cool on the on a band, one of my cuffs. Again, applied indices. One thing I would say about this one, I mean, you're not going to use it as a dive watch the way I'm going to mount it. There's no lume on the seconds hand. So that's another mistake if you were really going to treat this as a dive watch. A really interesting pattern on the dial. All these watches are beautiful. Let's check the bezel action out on this one. And again, these things, they're just tanks, man. They're just so well made. So, you know, my whole thing with this, it's tough guy watches. You know, tough watches on tough guy bands. You know, and they're larger. I think this one here might have a Swiss movement. I forget. Nice clasp on here. Again, it doesn't matter because it's going to go on one of my bands. Trying to read that through here. It's difficult to read on here because the, excuse me for a moment. Okay, so yeah, it's a Japan movement. 200 meter water resistant. You know, typical of Aragon. It's all good quality stuff. It's in real nice shape. No, again, no major scratches or wear marks on it. Beautiful case, rounded. It's just really eye-catching. This is going to be phenomenal on something like this. Although I might put this on brown. Let me just show you the lume really fast. on this watch here. You can see how that thing will pop for you. And just keep in mind, really, this whole video was supposed to be about the Divemaster 3. I just love these domed crystals, as I keep saying. It's just, it would have been nice if it had a lume pip. But again, I'm not going to dive with this. I'm just going to, this watch I'm going to keep on the bracelet. And this is just your beach watch, you know what I mean? The clasp, pretty standard. Boom, boom. So that's your security hasp here. If that opens, the watch still doesn't fall off your hand. You have to depress the two side buttons to get that to under. So it's a pretty safe watch to wear in the water. And that's what this will be used for. I mean, I'll wear it to work a little bit. This will get some wrist time just because it really is something. Hang on. Look at that crazy lume, man, on that old Android. I'll try a different zoom. It's just hard for it to focus because of the low light. But this watch right here on one of my bands, you can see it's got the logo at the back side of the second hand turning. Let you know that thing's working in a low light situation. But that bezel, those indices reflecting off the chamfer of the crystal. It's just super amazing. And this here's the lume on the most recent acquisition. The dome crystal, the Divemaster 3. And you can see there is no lume on the bezel. But that whole dial lights up because of the lume. It's just neat. So that's my entire Aragon collection, keeping in mind these lower three will be placed on my bands and be available for sale at some point in the near future. This is my personal watch here. No intention on selling that. That's my 4 that I'm keeping. Obviously including this watch here. And you can see I have a style. There's something I like. I like tough guy dive watches. They're shock resistant, water resistant. I mean, this watch could go at some point down the road if they become hard to find, but there's a lot of those out there. I think every Aragon collector has one of these bioluminescent watches. I really like these 3 and the Divemaster. I'm going to keep looking. I mean, these are just such incredibly designed and beautiful, tough, heavy-duty watches. This Android in particular is really special. You just saw the lume on that. That's going to look amazing on one of my cuffs. That's going on a cuff. These 2 here will be more like Boone style. This one here is going to make somebody super happy. I might actually fall in love with this one when I get it done and not want to sell it, but you know how that works. Such a cool watch. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this. The state of my Aragon collection.